The code is a message that came to me when I was in relationship with Laurent, and it came to me during a time when I really hated him. At least that was my perception. I really hated him. I hated a lot of things about him. And what had happened was the hate had become the strongest feeling of hate that I felt, at least in this lifetime, the strongest feeling of hate that I have any remembrance of feeling. And the hate had become so strong in me that I couldn't take it anymore. You know, there really are levels of hate that we're willing to accept. It crossed the line. It crossed the line. The hate was unbearable for me. So what I wanted to be was free of hate. And I think it was that desire to be free of hate that led to this message coming. I told the story last week that I was actually in church, and right in the middle of church I received a prompt to go outside, which is something that had never happened before, but it was very clear and very strong. So I got up and I went outside, and then when I went outside I was guided to go to my car and get my notebook, and then to set outside, and that's when the message of the code came. And as I mentioned last week, when the code first came, I had so much resistance that although I sat there on that bench and I wrote it all down, as soon as the message stopped, I wanted to rip it up into a million pieces and throw it away. So my resistance was very strong. Fortunately, I did not do that, because this message has been one of the most helpful things that I have ever received. Because what this message did is it taught me how I got myself into that heightened state of hate, how I had put myself into this unbearable state of hate. And then it also showed me how to guide myself out again. It showed me exactly what I needed to do to back out of that situation and move into a state of peace. And in fact, by the time I finished practicing the code, I got to tell you that not only did I stop hating Laurent, but I actually stopped believing in hate altogether. I came to see through my practice of the code that hate is artificial. And you know, this is what we learn through A Course in Miracles when it tells us things like only love is real. But as you can imagine, it's completely different to learn that through your own experience. I learned that hate is artificial. Hate is not real. And the only way that we can experience hate is to make it with our own mind. And that the more we make it and the more we make it, the more we experience it. But the only reason we're experiencing it is because we are making it. And that if we learn how we make it, and then we choose to let go of making it, it dies. Because it was never real in the first place. And what's amazing about when it dies, and I am speaking from experience, is that it dies. It's not just Laurent that I don't hate. It's everyone and everything. Hate, for me, died. It died because I saw that it was artificial, and I knew I did not want it anymore. You know, it always reminds me of A Course in Miracles, the workbook lesson that says, to say you want the peace of God is nothing. To mean it is everything. That's what really happened to me when the message of the code came. I had reached such a strong threshold of hate that the hate itself was so painful to me that I finally wanted peace. More than I wanted Laurent to change. You see, when we have these lower levels of hate, when we have these bearable levels of hate, when we can still live with our hate, the thought is, I want that person to change. Right? So if I hate Laurent because he, is not as clean as I am in the house, then the thought is, I want him to become cleaner. If I hate Laurent because he spends more money than I do, the thought is I want him to spend less money. I want him to be more frugal, right? But when we get to where we really cannot tolerate the hate, all we want is to be free of the hate. It's no longer about my brother changing. It's about being free. That's actually a different motive. Truly wanting to be free is a completely different motive. And that's what happened to me. I truly wanted to be free. And the message of the code taught me how, and because I was highly motivated, I practiced with great vigilance, and I became free. So, hopefully that piqued your interest and made you want to listen.